Hello there, our viewers. My name is Alexander Red, and I'm representing the Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas here today. And it is interesting to have one of our broadcast veterans on the program, and Mr. Cyrus Badio is a Liberian, a family man, and his career in broadcast journalism spanned a decade long in the country, and he's known for television newscast, radio programming, and as a sports commentator. I just celebrates his legacy today, and we are glad to have him in studio. Um, 1 second here, and we are glad to. We'll edit this anyway, so don't worry about it. And we have him in studio here, and we will be talking about his career legacy and known for his broadcasting, his newscasting, and other programming, and the start of his career, his legacy, his overall legacy is what we'll be talking about today. And we'll say welcome, Mr. Badio. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's a pleasure having me on your platform.
Great, 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 great. Now, let us know, how did you get into broadcast journalism?
I got in broadcast journalism I'm a professional broadcast journalism now. It was in 1981. I worked then for the Catholic radio station ELCM. At the time, there was only ELWA, the religious radio station, and ELBC. ELCM had just joined in as the second independent radio station. So I found my way with ELCM then. And after a year or so, I made it here at ELBC.
Okay, so that was 1981, 82. You made it to EF.
1981 to ever then.
Okay, great, great, great. And what motivated you? I mean, you must have been inspired by somebody, or how did it all come up? As fulfilling such dream, was it something that you dreamed about being a broadcaster, or did you admire somebody in the process, and then you thought to yourself, "Well, I have been given the skills and abilities, and I think I can do this."
Alex, it's something I always wanted to do. I grew up in Grand Crew County, a place called Garaway, around the seacoast area. For some reason, I just took interest in broadcasting. First, I love speaking. I love speaking, not just speaking, but speaking good English. And so I took a lot of interest in that. So when I was growing up, even when we went to the football field, I took a little stick and I had it to my mouth while the folks were playing, and I would act like I was doing a commentary. Interestingly, sometimes I would even be playing on the field and I would still be doing commentary while playing. So I had this special passion for broadcasting. And I did a lot of that at home, not only broadcasting, but I did writing, practicing how to write, uh, doing my own recordings and all that. So it was like a self training. So, when I came to Monrovia in 1974, I started doing the same thing too, doing my own little broadcasting, going to local games around I used to live in Pastor community, doing my own sports commentary and all of that. So it is something that actually I wanted to do from day one. I wanted to be
Mhm.
a broadcaster. So I worked at that. So when the opportunity came at ELCM, I jumped at it. Of course, ELCM prepared me for a bigger stage. So once the folks started hearing me at ELCM, and then I applied to ELBC, it just clicked. I mean, when I
Mhm.
came from my audition, did my test, the written test, and the voice test. I mean, I could see on the faces of Miss Olivia Shannon or Eustace Smith, I mean, before they even told me that I will be accepted into the class, I knew it because I could
Mhm.
see that expression on the faces that, oh, this guy has something that we are looking for. So that's
Okay.
how it all started.
That's good. And so, actually getting into the career and being accepted into the institution, both ESCM and ELBC. But let's talk about ELBC because you were known for one of the voices at ELBC. Now, what were some of the challenges that you encountered, and what were some of the success uh, things that you can let our watchers know? Look at the success, the challenges, and some of the things that you wish you will work on when you had that long years at ELBC.
One of the challenges was going to school and being on air at the same time. Because I remember I was at the University of Liberia and I had some morning classes, but my schedule at ELBC was in the morning hours. We used to wake up early in the morning around like 4 o'clock to be here at the station at 5 o'clock to open because then I was doing continuity announcing. I started first as an announcer, continuity announcing. So we had to be here very early in the morning. And I had a morning session, I had morning classes. One of my classes started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the station was closing at 9 o'clock. So it was a conflict, and it was difficult to have that arrangement where I could continue on the air or forego my classes. I chose that I would not forego those classes, even though I won't get the permission from my bosses to adjust the schedule. So what I did, um, I, I pre-arranged my closing.
Mhm.
I mean, recorded it in advance. It was
Yes.
pre-recorded.
Mhm.
So at the end of 9 o'clock, I will record to say, "Oh, this is Cyrus Badio. Thanks for listening. I've been here since so and so time, and I'm now signing off and all that." It was pre-recorded. So while the recording was playing at 9 o'clock, I was at LU
Hmm.
in class.
Yes.
So it was really difficult. I mean, if you have to work in the morning and then go to class at the same time, and I did that for several number of years, but I felt I had to do it because education comes first. Even though I was into broadcasting now, I was making some money, but I felt that I wasn't completely prepared yet because
Mhm.
I still had to further my education. That was one of the challenges, and thankfully, I braved those challenges and we went through it successfully. That I'm proud today that I can be referred to as one of those who made an impact in broadcasting here in Liberia. You talk about there was something else besides the challenges, the success.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was go ahead.
yeah. I mean, there was a lot of success. And the whole thing about broadcasting, Alex, you
Mhm.
must have the passion for it. And I have the passion. I had the passion, and I continue to have the passion for broadcasting. Um, One of the first experiences I had was working with Tommy Raines. Tommy Raines was one of those I admired a lot while growing up. On Armed Forces Day, I think it was in 1982 or there, but 1982 or 83, I found myself paired with Tommy Raines doing the Armed Forces Day broadcast from the Barclay Training Center, along with my friend Patrick Menjo. Actually, in fact, it was through Patrick that I came to ELBC. I met with him in Logan Town. They were playing a basketball game, and like a girl will reach to a guy will reach to a girl to approach the girl. It was virtually what happened. I went to him. I said, "Hey, my man, I like you, man. I want you to be my friend." Because by
Mhm.
then I've been following Patrick's broadcast. And that's how we gel. So through Patrick, I came to ELBC. But back to the story of Tommy Raines. So we're doing that broadcast at the Armed Forces Day broadcast, which was a very popular broadcast. So Tommy Raines decided to send me to the executive mansion where they had the unknown soldier, that little intersection.
Mhm.
And Alex, I was left alone. Patrick wasn't even near me. I was the only one there. So they sent brought they sent the how you call it the broadcast from the Barclay Training Center. We have our correspondent now, or we have our man at the unknown soldier, Cyrus Badio. and he would take it from here. And that was my first time doing a major live broadcast. Imagine that. But that was sent over to me, and it went well. I was a little bit nervous, very
Nervous.
frankly, being
Yeah.
by myself. So those were good memories. Working along with people like Tommy Rains, it was really an experience that I will forever cherish.
Yes. And among everything you did there, from radio programming or being an announcer to your own programming and then television newscasting, what is it like for you? What is your experience? And what can you tell young broadcasters now to be in a better position to prepare? What does it take to be a newscaster, both on television or radio, or to even prepare for a radio program and host a radio program? What are some of the things or skills that one will possess in order to be successful?
First, you have to have passion for what you do. It's the first thing. You must love the profession. And it is not only the love, you must prepare yourself. You have to go to school because broadcasting is one, the voice, and second, you must be educated. So once you have that passion and you have the education, certainly you have a lot of things going for you. And you must be able to prepare yourself because unfortunately, we do not have a lot of training programs here. So most times, people, you have to prepare yourself. You have to do, even if you want to do a program, you have to listen, do your own research. Like for instance, most of the broadcasters now, once they leave the studio, that's it. They don't go home. They don't listen to other radio stations. They don't listen to international radio stations. Most of them do not read. So even some very common words that are known when they come on air, they pronounce those words wrongly. It is only because people just do not listen. They don't follow up international broadcasts. They don't prepare themselves. They only limit themselves to that environment. So it is important for you to have passion for what you do, for you to educate yourself, and all the other ones will follow. And that those are some of the things that we did. And we never stopped learning. We never stopped preparing ourselves because the institution or the broadcasting is evolving. Things happen. Developments come about all the time. So you must just continue to prepare yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from the newscasting, uh, you and Patrick developed this program called the Cyrus Badio Show. It's a kind of a comedy program, and I believe you still run that program at ELBC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it
What
is.
led to that programming? What? How did the idea evolve?
Um, you and Alex, is good that you asked that question because I did a lot of things at ELBC. I did newscasting, television newscasting, radio. I did programming, which I really love, radio programming. I did sports commentary. But of all that I did here, what has defined me more is the Cyrus Pat show. Every
Mhm.
time I met people or every time I meet people, it is the Cyrus Pat show that they talk about.
Yes.
I went to Israel, I think it was in 1987, Tommy Rains and I. It was the first trip that I made out of the country. So from Israel, I traveled to the United States. And then in the United States, I listened to radio stations, and it was just too interesting the way they made it so lively, especially the morning shows.
Mhm.
And I said, "Oh, but this is something that we can do back home." So when I came back, I teamed up with Patrick. He had a morning program. I, I'm not sure whether I was no, I was in the morning, but he had his morning program. So every time I would come in the studio, we would chit chat. I mean, and for very very light things, nothing political. Talking about hair, how the women having the false hair, how the women would do their nails. People going to school and instead of getting ready for school, they being those little things that people were relating to.
Mhm.
So we chit chat about them, chit chat. And little we decided we noticed it was getting so popular. I mean, people were liking it. People were liking it. And later on, we said, look, this thing we can make it into a program. So he and I sat because we didn't have a name then. So we decided, look, let's give you a name. We went back and forth, and then we decided, well, let's call it the Cyrus Badio. And that's how the Cyrus Badio came about. And it just went wild. I mean, all over the place. I mean, people meet me today, Alex. The only thing they talk about is the Cyrus Badio. And
Yeah.
and these were kids at the time, because at the time we had also tailored towards not only the older people, but the young people as well. Because we had these jingles, are you running late for work? I'm late. Oh, I'm late. I'm late. I'm listening to Cyrus. And I mean, and the young people enjoy that. So most of them still remember the Cyrus Patrol, and they are older now. So when they meet me, and it makes me feel so old, and I feel good about it. When I was,
Yeah.
always tell me, when I was child, I used to listen to the Cyrus Patrol, and these are people I see with gray hair and all that. I said, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they were
Mm-hmm.
still young at the time. So I mean, the Cyrus Patrol actually defined some of our moments here at ELBC and our contribution to national development. But it was not only the Cyrus Patrol. I enjoyed sports commentary. I enjoyed production. And one of the highlights of my career was finding myself at the Accra Sports Stadium doing a commentary.
Hmm.
I grew up in Garaway, and we grew up near these Fanti guys. When the Ghana Black Stars was playing, they all had the radio sets all over the place. Even though it was the same game, but sometimes you had like 10 radios. Those guys would put every radio station was playing the game, the commentary from the game from the Accra Sports Stadium. And I told myself, you know, one day I will see Accra Sports Stadium. And I look forward to the day I will be at Accra Sports Stadium doing your commentary. Alex,
Hmm.
few years after, I found myself at Accra Sports Stadium doing a live commentary. And as I'm saying this, I get kind of emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Doing
Mm-hmm.
a live commentary back home.
Yes.
It's good to dream. It's good to believe in yourself. Just a little country boy. I couldn't believe that few years after, I would have found myself at Accra Sports Stadium doing a commentary.
Yes.
That was one of the
Yes.
highlights of my experience doing as a broadcaster.
Yes, and one of another highlights too is that you, because you are doing sports commentary, you in the early career, football career or soccer career of our current president, Weah, you did a whole lot of commentary on him. And I saw a picture on your Facebook. He met you, I don't know, somewhere, and he was like, he was laid out all in the face, meeting you, shaking your hand. So, what was the conversation about? Was he complimenting you?
Because we travel with them most of the time.
Mhm.
When IE was going out, Barrow was going, Lone Star was going. Patrick and I traveled with them. So we had fun memories, and he was recounting some of those moments, And then I whispered to him, I said, Mr. President, if as a matter of fact, we did interview him on the Cyrus Pat show. He was one of our first guests that we had on the Cyrus Pat show before he went professional. When he took his contract with Tonne in Cameroon, we interviewed him. So we have that interview. And luckily, of all the things that got missing during the war, we still have the interview we did with him, where he said, oh, now this show will be called the George Cyrus Pat Show. So I was telling him, Mr. President, you have to find time to come back on the Cyrus Pat Show and let's chat. So he said, oh, no problem. And then he whispered to me, but I won't say what he said.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's all right.
Yeah, because it is something that so the day we meet personally, I will tell you. But he whispered to me that I will come on the show provided you do. Maybe I can say that for the fun of it. I can say
Hmm.
that. He
Hmm.
whispered to me, he said, "I will come on the show, but please don't tell no ashtray."
I know.
And we laugh about it, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of relationship we've had over the years. So it was all fun, and hopefully one day will still rehash those memories when he appears on the show one of these days.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a very, very telling moment, because when I saw that picture and the way the smile, and it kind of rekindled, his own earlier career time, and that is all important, because it shows other broadcasters, or those that are in broadcast journalism, that what you do with passion, it can also lay out a history for you in the future. And so it was a kind of a celebration. That is why Alja is celebrating your legacy, because you have created an impact on the Liberian society, the culture as a whole, from being a newscaster on the television, on the radio, doing radio broadcasting, announcer, and then going to school, at the same time doing sports commentary. You diversify your skills,
Yeah.
and God has endowed you with that ability, and you use it. And like you said, you must have passion, and self-discipline in the whole process is also important. Now, how did you juggle all of that with your family life?
It was you and what it was tough. I mean, as a young man coming up, and you're trying to uh, put your own family together. Well, one thing, my family understood it. My wife then understood it. She understood that there was something that I had passion for.
Mhm.
So I was accommodated to a large extent because Alex, I'll leave home in the morning, very early in the morning, before 4 o'clock, and I won't get back home until say 9, 10 o'clock. Sometimes perhaps I would just take a break to go for lunch and then come back. And with all those hours, Alex, you won't believe, it was like we still wanted to be at ELBC
Mhm.
doing our work. I remember there was a pageant show, a Miss Liberia pageant show. Patrick and I covered that pageant. And most time the pageants don't end until around say 3 o'clock in the morning or so. But because we wanted something on the news, Patrick and I left Hotel Africa when that pageant ended. I had a little old car. We got in that car, came to ELBC, produced a news piece because we wanted for it to be on the news in the morning. Because most people sometimes they went to bed not knowing who won the pageant.
Mhm.
So the whole night we were up, came to the radio station after the pageant, produced a news piece which was ready for the morning news.
Wow.
That's the kind of passion I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
thankfully, my family was understanding enough to accommodate that passion. Of course, not foregoing some of my commitments to the family, blending the two. It was a
Yes.
hard balance to strike, but somehow I found a way to strike that balance. And thankfully today, my family is a happy family, and I'm a happy man because I've achieved. To some extent, I know I've made my contribution to the Liberian citizenry and to this country.
Yes, and you have, and if someone were to ask, do you have siblings, and
Yeah.
also, are your parents alive, or how are you ranking your family?
And Alex, I hope when people see this interview, they don't think that you are doing this interview because I'm about to die or so. It's not going to happen right now, okay? It's not going to happen because my dad is in his 90s.
Excuse me.
My dad is in his 90s. He's still alive. My uncle just passed away. He was 98. He passed away a year ago.
Wow.
My other uncle is still alive. He's approaching his 90s. So our family is noted for going further. So I
Yes.
believe I will still be around here for a long time. And at the time I shall have left the stage, I wanted it to be recorded that I was the oldest broadcaster at ELBC because I intend to continue
Mhm.
broadcasting until I die.
Yeah.
And maybe it will even be fun when I'm on the microphone and I get a heart attack. He was doing what he loved doing, he died. But it's not going to happen now. I'm in my 60s, so I have 30 some odd more years on this earth. I'm certainly going to go until I reach 100 or somewhere
Mhm.
close to that. So, but I have my brothers, we are like 12
Wow.
siblings. Yeah, all of my brothers. are still alive. I'm the second brother, and I have my sisters. They are all in the United States. I'm the only one here in Liberia. I mean, no, we are two.
Two.
The youngest is here in Liberia, and then I was in the States, of course, but
Hmm.
I love this country so much that I just left you guys in the cold, and I decided to come at some of this here in Liberia.
And do you have
So
children?
yes, I have children. I have two daughters, actually three daughters. Okay, two are in the United States. The one is here in Liberia. I have a son, who, when you are just about the same age, or perhaps he's older, he was born 1979, or he will kill me for disclosing how old he is, and he's in the States also. So we get along very well. But they all are big now.
Yeah.
So, but Daddy is still here doing his thing, enjoying life in Liberia, doing what he
That's,
loves doing.
yes, yes, yes. That's true. And part of your broadcast career, you later on got into public service, being part of the ex administration of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I believe you serve as press secretary, if I may be correct.
That is correct, yeah. For first
What
time.
what what was your experience, and what can you share with us, looking at or taking into account your own broadcast skills or journalism skill, and then filling that role? What was it like? What were some of your success and challenges?
It was a good experience. And what it taught me is the fact that most of the media people that I was dealing with had a great deal of respect for me, that believability factor, because I had been around for a long time. Even the younger media personnel, they heard about me, so it made my work easier. I mean, there will be an issue at the executive mansion, and they will call me, and I was able to convince them like, hey, my man, this story is true, but I beg you, let's just leave it alone.
Yeah,
And they would accept it.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't pretend like I was reacting to something and all that. Most times, if they were true, I would say, my man, the other thing you're talking, that's true, but I beg you, just leave it alone. And most times, they will listen. They will
Mhm,
agree with me. So, you know, when you're in the media and later on you find yourself in public service, based on your own temperament, based on the way you handle the guys, you
mhm,
don't even have to be coming out all the time reacting.
mhm,
It can be an understanding between, and it doesn't take money.
mhm.
Sometimes you have to call them every now and then to get together and all that. But the guys want to feel that they are respected.
Yes.
That's how I did it. To a large extent, it worked. Even some of the politicians, they were on the radio saying things and all of that. And I will call them after, instead of reacting to them on air, I will call them. I said, my man, the other thing you're saying, not correct, right? He said, yeah, if you brought that true, but that politics. I said, but you can't do this. So we had that kind of
Mhm,
understanding. And to a large extent, it helped me. It helped me,
mhm,
in the performance of my role. And I also almost was an advisor too, because as press secretary to the president, you
mhm.
have to be an advisor too.
Yes.
And sometimes my advice was not taken, but a lot
Mhm,
of times my advice was taken. When I'm president, this is what is happening.
mhm,
Here's what people are saying. You want to go to this place, PR wise, is not a good idea, you know. And
mhm,
you have to provide. It's not, even if the president told me something, Mr. Badio, I want you to say this thing. If I felt it was incorrect, I will advise. I just gave you before. I know you run out of time. I gave
mhm,
you a particular incident. We went to Grand Cru one time. Senior Freeman, one of the opposition leaders, said something very derogatory about the government. The madam said he was enraged, and she told the press, Seymour Freeman will be arrested. So the press came to me and said, "Oh, but the president said such and so thing. You the press secretary, what do you make of it?" So I went to the Madam President. I asked Madam President, the press is telling me that this is what you said, but I don't think it will all go well if this thing gets out to the public. because we here in Grand Crew, you're inspecting development projects and all of that. If this statement were to get out, that will make the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever inspection, whatever good work, things that are happening here will not make the headlines. So, can you allow me to please try to calm down the waters? And she stood her ground. Oh, this is what I said. Let it go. Eventually, she said, "Okay, go ahead. You people, you the press pressing, do what you want to do." So I called the press in Grand Crew. Mr. Badio, what do you have to say regarding the statement the president made? And sometimes you need to have a little bit of wisdom. Alex,
Mm-hmm.
you will not believe that day was April 1.
Hmm.
I can't remember the year now. It was on April 1 when Madam Salif made that statement. So in a calm manner, I told the press, I said, "But have you guys forgotten today?" And then they look at me with this strange face. I said, "Yes, today is April 1. And April 1 is April Fool's Day." And then everybody just could not believe this. So the story that came out of it was not Madame Salif saying that Sima Frima will be arrested, but that this was an April Fool's joke. So, I mean, in a situation which would have made headlines actually end up just being dead.
Mhm.
So sometimes you just have to have that wisdom to be able to
Yes.
do your job in public relations.
Yes.
Just thought to bring that through to let you know some of the challenges and
Mhm.
that we went through at the executive mansion in public service.
Well, and one thing that I learned from your interaction as a whole with other people is that you tend to build rapport and trust,
Yeah,
and you rely on your negotiation or your negotiating skills to be successful. And that is a very good lesson for any broadcast journalist who is listening right now or watching us right now. It's always important to build rapport with people, and you do it in a much or in an appropriate temperamental way. Their
that's
temperament, because some people react very strongly to certain things, and it brings about some sort of conflict. But in the
yeah,
process, you're able to diffuse that because you know the person and know you, and you added your nugget of wisdom in there, and that of course quell the situation. And that's
yeah.
and that's that's great. That's great.
That's important. That is
It
important.
is. It is important. So now, before we wrap up here, what would be your advice to every broadcast journalist out there today who may have the same set of skills? For example, diversity of skill in newscasting, in radio programming, as well as sports commentating and the rest, just like you, and they would like to follow the footprint of Mr. Cyrus Badio. What kind of a tangible advice would you like to give them today?
Before I go to the advice, Alex, I know
Mhm.
you asked me some of the memorable events too, and I can't leave this interview
Oh no, go ahead. Yes,
without talking about 1985. I think that was another
sure.
milestone. That is something I remember. 1985 elections with Samuel Doe, the late president, going against Jackson F. Doe.
Oh yeah.
I was leading the team that covered Nimba County, Lofa, and one other county. We came back to base and we had to report. Besides, once we did the editing and all that, we played it on the news and we were in the studio analyzing those news items. That was one of the highlights because in Lofa County, things were happening, strange things were happening. These guys were shopping the ballots in the stuff. Every time someone came, who are you voting for? They will say Doe. And then the guy was shove this thing in the box, and it was going on. So my television coverage focused on that. And in the studio, I was asked, so who were they voting for? I said, well, I don't know who they were voting for, but I know they were stuffing the ballots. Every time they were asked who it was, the market woman or man would say Doe. But of course, it was military government at that time. I knew it was Samuel Doe they were stuffing it for, but I dared not say Samuel Doe. I said they were stuffing the ballots for Doe. They were asking who you voting for. They said Doe, but of course it was a Doe of the choice of the guy who was stuffing the ballots.
Hmm.
And that was another moment for me, covering that 1985 election because a lot of things happened. Unfortunately, one of our colleagues, Charles Badio, didn't make it in the 1985 abortive coup. And on the eve of Charles, on the eve of the death of Charles, Charles saw me that night, November 11th. He had just been promoted, I believe, news director. And he said, Cyrus, I want us to take this thing to another level. I want you to be here with me. But Alex, I had already put in for my vacation on November 11th. On the 12th of November or thereabout, Charles Badio was killed.
Hmm.
So who knows what would have happened had I even been here at LBS? So to the memory of people like Charles Badio, may his soul rest in peace. This is something that continues to remain on my mind.
Yeah, yeah, and for the Charles William incident, what do you remember? What really happened? What is the version of the story
I wasn't
that
I
you?
wasn't here. Like I told you, I had taken a vacation on the eve of
Oh, okay.
November 12th. I'm even surprised that the state security did not call me to say that, hey, maybe you knew about this or if cool, that's why you
Mhm,
took your vacation, But I wasn't here.
mhm,
My recollection of the story I had was that Charles was out reporting, covering what was happening, and perhaps the folks felt that he was a little bit too assertive. And so after things turned around, the dude said he didn't want to. In fact, he came out from the ELBC in the compound to interview Doe. And then Doe said that just now, I had a state. He said, Mr. I had a state, and Doe said, I don't want to see this man. Whether he meant kill him or just go away, no one knew. But the army took it for execution. So Charles was taken away and he was unfortunately killed. But those are the kind of difficulties you go through because we were here at ELBC doing our work, but people wanted to watch ELBC. People wanted to watch Action News
mhm,
because at 8 o'clock, everybody was running home to watch the news because we're not just reporting at just a government station. We're presenting the facts. We're unearthing corruption. And that's a challenge, some of the challenges you go through working for state institutions because people feel that once you work with a state institution, you are not supposed to report the truth. But the truth is the truth. Even
mhm.
if you can report it in a way that it will not offend the authorities, you still have to report the truth. Maybe that's one of the messages I want to leave to the young broadcasters. You should have a
Okay,
passion. Prepare
okay.
yourself.
Yes, and when it comes to comparing and contrasting the ELBC before and now, what do you see?
The ELBC today, they have a lot going for them. I mean, you can just take your phone or Google and get information. There, we didn't have it. We had to use a splicing tip. Now you can just go on your computer and do your editing from your computer. It was much more challenging during our times, but yet and still we had things going. So the journalists today, not just ELBC, they're not exerting themselves too much, even though it is easier now because technology has made it easier. They are not exerting themselves anymore. I mean, you watch a television program, somebody's doing a sports program, and all he's reading is the script, even though they have actions have taken place that day.
Mhm,
The Premier League, basketball, all that reporter needs to do is to spend a little more time, take those recordings and
mhm,
package them and present them to the public. But it is not happening. Then we didn't have these facilities, even though we didn't have them, but we still made way for people to see, even if it meant that you do a graphic and all that to put it up for people to see. We were doing that. But now they have all the facilities, but people just don't want to spend an extra time.
mhm,
But maybe it comes with the benefits too. Perhaps they are not being given the benefits all the tools you need to work with to do those things. But sometimes you have to improvise. If you love what you're doing, if you love your profession, if you have a passion, you have to improvise. There are a lot of things I've done. Kwame Clement did a lot of things here that it was not the management that gave him those tools to work with, but because he loved what he did, so he went out to get what he wanted to get for the public's good. So we have to be a little bit creative. When we,
Hmm.
I'm not critical. I'm not saying this to criticize, but I'm just saying people must love the profession, love what
Hmm.
they're doing, and that will be my message to them. You must love it. Sometimes it comes with the money, but I think the money comes later. If you love what you're doing, you will get the reward. Believe me, you will get
Yes.
the reward.
Okay, and we'll end on that note. We learned a lot about you today regarding your entire career, your family life, and that's a lot to learn. And we are fortunate to hear those nuggets of wisdom from you. And I believe it's going to be to the benefit of all our watchers or listeners, especially or particularly those that are in the broadcast profession. Preparation, building good rapport and trust, believing in yourself and knowing what you want to do and keeping your focus. They're all virtues that you add up or compile for you to be a successful person in a career. Thank you so much, Mr. Badio, and I wish you well. And I understand the Cyrus Patch show is still going on
Yes, yes.
ELBC,
The
right?
Cyrus Patrol is still going on.
And
Uh,
what are the times?
oh, we broadcast 4 o'clock from 4 to 6, 2 hours, Liberian time, and the program is also read broadcast on a number of radio stations across the country. Two local stations here in Monrovia, Fabric FM, OK FM carries it every Friday in the night, and Fabric FM repeats the broadcast on Saturdays. And then a radio station in Maryland also carries it. Another station in Bond County carries it. So we have a number of radio stations that carry it. Unfortunately, we are not into the Facebook thing. So you're not seeing us on Facebook. We are an old school, so we're not on Facebook. But ELBC has a webpage, www.elbc uh, radio.com. So you can also catch it on ELBC. But it's still fun. It's still fun. It is not as it's been rebranded, let me say,
Mhm.
but it still has the fun. It still has the fun, and it's something that you want to catch in on. And if you want some of the recordings, certainly we can share those with you. You want even we have a recording of one of our commentaries, Barrow and IE featuring George Weah, Salinta Diba, and all those guys. We can say share with you some of those recordings. Maybe you can play some excerpts every now and then just to refresh your mind, calm you down, calm
Yes.
your nerves.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Badio.
Thank
And
you,
this is
Alex.
how we conclude today. Thank you so much. And um, you can catch the Cyrus Pass show on ELBC. He has already given me the various times and broadcast times. And so we'll end here today. My name is Alexander. And thank you, Mr. Badio, for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.